Can podcast. Today we've got Stacey Bax with us. We're so excited to have you here, Stacey. Stacey's running for Missouri District 61, and we're just really glad to help you get your message out and let people know you're running and get started here. Describe your district? Like, what cities are in it? What towns? Where does geographically, where is it at?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. So House District 61 covers a majority of Montgomery County, all of Gasconade County, all of Osage County, and then a little section of Miller County, mostly like St. Elizabeth area. So it's a very large area, but it's very rural. Mm-hmm. So it's not heavily populated, and lots of farms, small business owners, things like that. So
yeah, it seems like, it's not like anywhere is immune, but those are folks that it sounds like would be hit hard by a lot of changes recently, as far as like health insurance changes with the ACA subsidies and
yes.
Hopefully be receptive to your message.
Yes. We've actually felt those impacts ourselves. I am a small business owner. My husband owns a couple of businesses, and I do all the book work for the company. Our main business, we sell, my husband's a logger, so he sells white oak, which makes wine and whiskey barrels. So a majority of our products are exported. So the tariffs have really hit our business hard. The value of our product has, in just white oak alone, has dropped 50% since Trump has been in office.
Oh my gosh, that's significant. Wow.
Yes, and there's been a lot of other loggers who have been cut off because the sawmills can't keep up with the production because they have nowhere to take it. And as a small business owner, we ourselves are on the Affordable Care Act, mm-hmm. and our premiums we have seen have more than doubled. Mm-hmm. Wow. And so we understand the impacts that, farmers are having, small business owners are having, because we're feeling the constant increase in the rise of costs while our wages are actually decreasing because of the tariffs. So we're getting hit on both sides of it. And it was one of the motivators for me deciding to run, because I don't feel like our representatives are listening and really paying attention and representing the working families.
Absolutely. Yeah. Have you been thinking about running for a while and something?
No, I was not. Honestly, if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said you were crazy, because that was never on my radar. To give a little background, my oldest has autism, and he's 25 years old. So when he was diagnosed, there was not a lot of understanding or knowledge. Resources were kind of sparse at the time. When he was diagnosed, I was told he was not going to drive. He would not have friends. He would not work. He would not live on his own.
Devastating. I'm sorry you went through that. That sucks.
Yes. But what I was very persistent in trying to learn all I could to figure out how to help him best. Mm-hmm. I'm one of those people that, if you say that you can't, I'll prove you wrong type attitude. And so fast forward, in the meantime, I guess when he first was diagnosed, we had started, my husband and I would have community organization because there was a couple of other people in our communities that were facing the same challenges. So we would have support groups and really educate the community and the schools. And I was a huge advocate to try to get those resources that my son needed. Lots of work, lots of persistence, not backing down. And I can say, he still has challenges, but as Tina knows him, he lives on his own.
Very independent. He's very awesome. Independent.
He drives, he works, he dates, he has friends. And so everything that the doctor said he could not do, he does do. And so I guess in this moment, I feel kind of the same way. While I may not know everything that I'm doing and I'm going to make mistakes and I'm learning as I go, it's the same experience that I felt whenever I went through this with Brendan. I'm determined to find the right answers and help the people in my community. And that's kind of what led me to to run for office. And also, he's on Medicaid. And these supports are important for us as a parent because we have a responsibility, like, forever to, like, there's certain things we still have to manage. And me and my husband are not going to be here forever. And so our ultimate goal was to make sure he could be as independent as possible. So that way, whenever we pass away, he can continue living a very independent lifestyle. And so Medicaid allows a lot of that. Medicaid is more than health insurance.
Absolutely.
Yes. Medicaid pays for his job coach so that they can work with his behavior so that he can hold down a job. And then he pays taxes and he's a contributing member of society. He has a specialized system in his home that automatically locks his doors and kind of monitors things. They could put sensors on things to remind him to take his medication, things like that. So if he were to lose that, that's going to be life-changing for him. That could lead him to losing his job and having to either be placed in a group home or have to live with us again. So that was really my biggest motivator for running for office.
I see. Yeah, and your story is, there's so many people that go through something like this that nobody really understands until they live it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the walking in someone else's shoes that there is like half of the United States that can't seem to quite do it. And I'm like, are you really waiting for that situation to happen to you for you to care about it? But well, and moms will get stuff done. Moms will get stuff done. That's what I'm always like, okay, we know who runs most things, let's be honest.
And we're great at multitasking.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
right.
and you're not going to be mean to my child.
Right.
So, yeah, I have thick skin because I'm protecting all of the littles. So you bring it on to me. But yes, and I think you're just going to be a great So who's already, who has the seat right now?
Bruce Sassman.
That's crazy. I've never heard of his name, so he must not be doing much.
So can you tell us a little bit in general terms about Bruce's voting record? Maybe some things that average everyday folks would like to know that he's been up to?
He voted for the redistricting. He voted to overturn the will of the voters, the Amendment 3, the Prop A. He voted in favor of the school vouchers, which we all know takes money basically away from the public education.
Yeah, that in itself is a bold move in a rural area, because as those of us that have lived in the rural Missouri know, you don't have a choice to go to a private school. There are no private schools.
And you have to be able to afford them. And I understand, like, the voucher system is supposed to help with that, but a majority of people that send their kids to, like, the private schools around here, like the Catholic schools, they already can afford it. And the other issue I have, having a child with a disability, I have
it's
two other
taking
children.
Money straight out of that.
It is. I mean, I have two other children that are dyslexic too, so I've had to advocate even for their services and supports. And it's literally a difference between success and failure when they have these certain accommodations and these services and supports. Private schools are not forced to provide those to students. And so, when you take those away, my daughter, for example, she is a freshman at Mizzou, severely dyslexic. She has auditory processing. When we first, I had to push for a diagnosis because I just knew something wasn't right. She was a very smart student, but she was making average, like, lower B, C grade. But whenever we would study tests, she would know the answers right off the bat. So I'm like, something's not adding up. When we found this out and she got the supports and services through lots of advocating, she was a straight A. Yes, she was a straight A student. And she ended up graduating with a 3.7 GPA, got scholarships to go to Mizzou. And she actually just got an email that she is she's on track to make the dean's list at Mizzou.
That's fantastic.
And if she did not have those supports, I know she would not have probably even went to college, because she would have been so, I guess.
The self-esteem hit that you feel, I have a dyslexic one at home too. And once I realized to actually get them to pay attention to it, I understand what you have to go through. And when I say that Stacey is persistent, if she made it this far in that system, Stacey is persistent, because I have done the certified letter route, and they, if you don't have a mom, if there's a caretaker involved that is not involved, they're not going to provide those services. So you have to be you have to tell them what you want. And there's so many children that just don't have that. So,
and 1 in 5 students are dyslexic. So it's
amazing.
A very common issue. It's not like it's rare.
Right.
But yeah, we've had to even go as far as getting advocates involved too, because I would even have the diagnosis and they're like, oh, she's not failing. And I'm like, why are we going to wait until she fails to intervene?
Exactly.
And so that's how persistent I am. I'm like, well, if you say no, I'll bring someone else in here and we'll work together and try to find a solution that works for everybody. And honestly, I think it helps the teachers too.
Sure.
Because they understand. I mean, it's simple accommodations for dyslexia kids. They just have to listen or get copies of notes. Just learning how to work with the school system has been one of the biggest things that I have done over the last 2 decades and advocating.
Right.
Well, hopefully it's clear to you, the constituents in your district, that you would be fighting for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that, if we back up way up at the situation as a society, if we invest some, like you say, you said notes, just some, like, they get notes, they get to listen to something, and perhaps instead of read, if we can invest these small things early on in a child's life and help them succeed to the point where, they can tolerate and, what's the word? They can navigate their way through everyday society, maybe without those same supports, but early on we have to get them off the ground and going, and give them the tools to succeed. And think of, you say 1 in 5 people, think about the positive feedback to society that has, instead of those kids failing early on.
And I believe in society we all benefit when our students succeed and have a good solid education.
Absolutely.
Well, and moms know that first line. Like, all we want for our children is for them to be successful and independent and okay. Like, and we have the resources in the state to do that. And then we cut capital gains tax so rich people can have more money. And
exactly.
My question is, why do you want to live in a society like that? Like, your kids are gonna have to live here,
right?
With the other people that you disadvantaged. That blows my mind.
Just the workforce, right? You need an educated workforce if you want to hire people to work at your small businesses and run your just make your world go round.
And I know, like, our public schools, I see, teachers having to pay for so many of their supplies in the classroom or rely on donations from families. And that's just, what are we doing? When teachers are making the wages that they are, and then still having to put this much money into their classrooms just to educate children, while our tax dollars are subsidizing large corporations or giving tax.
So Mike Kehoe can buy a new boat or something.
I guess, right? So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so you're running on the Democratic ticket,
yes.
But your values and your thoughts on things feel like just human things to support. So, how do you plan on, because you do live in a red district and you're running in a red district, how do you plan on meeting people where they're at? With, getting to know them and reaching out to them? What's your plan with that? Because I know that a lot of farmers and people in red districts, this is just how they voted. So, just down the ticket, Republican. So how are you planning on seeping into that?
It's hard, but I also think we need to get back to looking at each other as neighbors again instead of enemies.
Absolutely.
I'm just everybody's regular neighbor. I'm the house where my kids' friends, they just walk in the door. This is their home too. Mm-hmm. I'm not a polished politician, but I just know that the government is not working for us, and we need better representation. And again, our kids' future is at stake here. But I plan to we're going to try to have like house parties where we can bring in in smaller groups and just talk. I know what my struggles are, but I don't know everybody's struggles. So one of the biggest things is just asking people, what are you struggling with? What are your needs? Because to me, this campaign isn't about me and what I want. I believe that a representative is supposed to represent their constituents. And in order to do that, you really have to ask questions and try to understand where they're coming from. And I'm hoping that will break down some barriers. I know not everybody's going to agree with me, but I do believe that I have strong values. I am not one that will sway from them. And I feel like I have a good moral compass and know the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah. Well, so just that'll get you a long way, listening and doing what's best for folks. Yeah.
So that brings me back to the whole conundrum that we're having with the initiative petition, them trying to take it away, us clearly voting for something, doing the work, voting for it, and then them being like, I don't think you knew what you voted for, even though you voted for me, but that one was fine. So how do you plan on, if you got the seat, dealing with if your district passed something via initiative petition, but it was not what your values were? How would you navigate that?
I would still support their vote because, again, my job is not about my opinion and what I want. My job is to represent them. And so if we continue to override things that the citizens vote on, we've lost the democratic process. And there's no trust in government anymore. So I think that's extremely important to uphold that, even if you don't agree with it.
Yeah. Stacey, I'm sure it's scary to be doing this when you don't have any experience with politics, but you are exactly who we need representing us.
I appreciate it.
So thank you.
Like I said, I am just a mom, an everyday person, but I just see a lot of wrong in the government. And I've learned, like with my son, if you want change, you're going to have to be the one to do it.
You got to do it yourself. Yep.
Well, that thought process right there, I truly believe if you verbalize that to the people, regardless of left or right, like just that idea of the people clearly want this. They voted, they did the work, they voted for it. It might not be what I personally would like for my life, but that's what you voted for. And I respect that because I am your representative and I respect you.
Yeah. The other thing that I feel like from listening to other people that have run talk is that, I feel like perhaps they could have a conversation with a constituent and they can agree on 90% of the things they've talked about. But then the constituent might say, but I can't vote for you because you're a Democrat and I'm a Christian and I've been told I can't vote for Democrats. So I feel like part of the challenge is communicating that, what you're fighting for actually has more Christian principles.
Yes.
Than perhaps, I don't know your opponent.
The title of being a Christian,
Right.
I do have a little bit of insight, and I do understand the sensitivity around certain issues. But however, at the end of the day, if we want to live in a free society and have freedom of religion, we can't pick one religion over the other to enforce laws.
Right.
Yeah, it's real crazy out there.
Yeah. So if you can figure out how to just have those conversations, you're going to go far, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and it sounds like you are known around the community, so that will be helpful. Having people see your name over and over, how do you plan on representing voters that did not vote for you? How do you plan to effectively represent them?
I think it goes back to still having like an open but respectful dialogue and having those conversations, because I think there's always room to find middle ground and work together. So, that's part of it, because again, even though I know even people that don't vote for me, I'm still representing them. I don't believe in I'm only representing the people who support me. That's not what representatives are supposed to do. So
that's, and even you would think that would be assumed, but like up to the national level especially, it's pretty clear right now that, our national government doesn't feel any ownership or representation for people that didn't vote for them.
Yes. So, and I think that's a problem. Yeah. And I do think that just trying to get back to the time, I remember a time in politics where nobody cared if you were Democrat or Republican. It was almost like a fun little challenge, like, oh, your person's running. And, you would have these little, conversations, but it was never demeaning and disrespectful. And it's really tearing communities apart. It's tearing families apart. And I'm hoping that we can get through that. And so we can have some actual conversations and actually put into law some good things that help the working family.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we know that the Capitol is very buddy-buddy with the people on their side, at least right now. That's how it seems. It's very fraternity style in there. Those boys are weird, let me tell you. How do you plan with the clickiness? How do you plan, say the Democratic Party put together something that you don't agree with for your district, and that is not what your constituents want, and the party is pressuring you in a way to go along with something you don't want? How do you plan? I don't see you having a problem with that, but how do you plan to, okay. How do you plan to deal with that?
My values are non-negotiable. I don't care what party I would be affiliated with. And honestly, I have never even felt any pressure as of yet. It's just been support. And that would be one way for me to distance myself from any party. I don't want to be pressured, and I don't represent the party. I represent the constituents.
Oh, that's a good one. Yes. Yeah. So can you tell me what your top 2 priorities, if you got the seat, what you would like to tackle first off?
Well, that's really hard because as you know, there are several issues that we need to address. I think for me, affordability is one of the top ones. The families having to struggle even more, like with the childcare, healthcare rising, grocery costs. And I think that is one of the most critical things we need to address right away. Of course, healthcare, education, rural infrastructure. I mean, I grew up. I live in the same town that I was raised in. And I still know people that can't get decent internet access. And so just things like that, just to make their life easier. So those are just some of the top issues off the top of my head. But like I said, there's several that need to be addressed. But affordability and just alleviating the family of some of that pressure that they're feeling is probably the top priority.
Quality of life for your constituents. Yes. No, and I think that sounds like it would probably be a winning. I don't know how you can argue against that.
Right. You like paying more for groceries?
Yeah.
I love it, Daddy. Give it. Yes. It seems like they are saying that. Okay. Well, is there anything else that you feel like you would like to share right now? I know you're still getting your campaign running and up and getting all the fun stuff going because you're learning. But is there anything that you would like people to know, specifically, people, your constituents, what you'd like them to know about you?
Like personally or?
Anything. All right. What your goal is at the end of this, how long, what do you see in your future with this? Do you have any goals? Or are we just looking at tomorrow?
Right now, I'm probably taking it one day at a time. This has moved really fast. How this kind of came about is in November of 2024, my husband and I were feeling a lot of anxiety about the upcoming presidential election. And I was like, I feel like I need to do something. Sitting here is just making me have anxiety. So we decided to get in the car and we went to Wisconsin to go knock on doors. And that was my first experience of really becoming actively politically engaged and being part of the process. And it was energizing to actually know that I was doing something. And then after the election, living in this small town, there's been a lot of us that have been kind of afraid to speak up. We've felt alone and isolated, and we felt like we were alone in this whole, election outcome. And I had went to a local meeting, and there was a lady there that I had knew. And I was like, whoa, we're like-minded. Like, what? We didn't know. I mean, we've known each other for years. And so we kind of got to talking, and I was like, well, I know a couple people. She knew a couple people. And I said, why don't we start a Facebook group and just have a supportive community, so that way we have each other to at least lean on. And that group has grown tremendously. And it turned into, like, we organize, we share events, we support each other. And then shortly after, I guess, fast forward to March of 2025, I went to my first Democratic meeting in my county and somehow became the president that night.
Yeah, that's what happens when you show up. Somehow you get, all of a sudden you're in charge.
And so I've just continued the advocacy work and just, and really what we've been focusing on is how to help our community. What are our community's needs? Like, we've hosted a food drive. We're getting ready to do fundraisers to raise money for local schools to help pay for student lunch debt for the 3 local public schools. So that's kind of what we're focusing on. And it's kind of what I'm taking into this campaign too, is what is the community needs, and it's about action, and actually not talk. We need action. We need to show that what we're about, what our values are, and we're here to help the community. So, and in the meantime, before, people were actually kept coming up to me and asking me to run for office, and I was like, I don't think that that's me. I'm not qualified. So I was like, you know what? I'll start college. I was like, so I actually started taking online college courses. I'm earning my bachelor's degree in political science while I'm running.
Oh, that's amazing. That's incredible. Good
yes.
for you. Wow.
I just kind of thought, I don't think I have time to wait until I get my degree, so I'll just run now and see what happens. So yes, I'm taking the college courses as I'm doing this campaign, because I am trying. It's important to me to understand and know, so that I can represent my constituents the best. So
that's incredible. Wow.
So, yeah, everything has kind of just happened so fast. And that's why I'm saying one day at a time, because I would have never expected that I would have been in this position a year ago. So.
Wow. That's wonderful.
Well, it's so funny you say that, because, as terrible as all of this, as terrible and predictable as every single thing that's happening right now is, they have lit a fire. And I hope the men realize what they did, because
it's the women.
we are okay because we got Stacey taking political science degrees and running for office. So
they done pushed you too far.
For real, I know.
Coming out of it.
Well, and that's the thing, like with this podcast, we were like,
who would have thought?
Who's going to listen to us? And then I was like, wait, people listen to Joe Rogan. I'm starting it, so I'm serious. Like, how is his voice more important than ours?
It's not.
As he's talking about hosting a measles party.
Right.
I'm just like, no, that's chickenpox, babe. Like, please stop. Don't have children, please.
It's so important, because what I've realized is whenever I've helped with this, like, build this community, I've had so many people come up and say, thank you so much. I have felt so alone and isolated. I didn't know there were other people in my community. And there are way more of us than we ever expected. Right. And I know for me personally, like, that's what keeps me going and keeps me energized. When we
absolutely
are active, being advocates and activists, and we're fighting for what we believe is right. That's what keeps me in the fight, and it keeps me energized.
Well, and I think that was by design, that, the loudest voices are the ones that always convince everyone else that they're also the majority. And those of us that prefer to be more quiet and reserved, and, the last thing we want to do is be in someone's face, that makes us feel like we're pushed aside and nobody else feels the same way. So,
exactly.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yes.
It's ironic that the party that claims that they want small government wants to be so involved with my vagina.
Again, I fault the media for that, because the media has not pushed back against that the current Republican Party, I guess you say MAGA, whatever you want to call it, violates about every true Republican principle you can violate. Small government, it goes on and on. Yeah, exactly. Financial responsibility, freedom of religion, So not to, get off on a tangent on all that. I felt the media in not asking the questions that would help everyday people realize that, oh, they say this, what they say and what they do are drastically different. And things have had to get so bad that, everyday people are affected by it directly. And that's only going to get worse until we're able to push back as a whole.
Yeah.
And frankly, as absolutely awful as it is, I feel like the recent shooting, Renee Good's shooting, has really galvanized some folks that never would have paid much attention before, because it's such a blatant event.
Well, the thing with that whole situation is the gaslighting. They are trying to blur what you know is true and you saw with your own eyes. They are telling you that it did not happen like that as you are watching it with your own eyeballs. And that is literally what Orwell talked about. Like that it's for, they've written several books about this, guys. Okay, we can see where this is going. They actually wrote a whole book about exactly what they were going to do in Project 2025. I know we don't read, but you can get it on audio. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
While we still have a library. Well, if there's nothing else you want to add, I feel like as your campaign gets going, we'll totally have you back when things start. And then maybe we could even have maybe a round table with some other constituents like Suzanne Luther and see, kind of see how everything's going and chat with all of our future representatives, hopefully. All right,
well,
Stacey.
Keep up the good work. I on behalf of us here at the While We Still Can Pod, we are super proud of you. Way to go.
Yay! Well, we're going to be talking and hopefully be seeing a lot more of you. Okay, Stacey?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.